Hey, what's up guys? It's Joe from GadgetryTech.com, and today I'm going to talk about the Beosound A1 second generation Bluetooth speaker from B&O Olufsen. Now this is a $250 Bluetooth speaker, which obviously is not the least expensive one on the market. This is a premium product. It's available in multiple colors, including black anthracite, gray mist, gold tone, pink, green, and a couple other spin-off colors. There's the anthracite that has some good teal and an all-black strap, which I actually really like the colors on that. That one's also $250. Then you have a $400 version that's kind of like a limited edition. So for the most part, it's a $250 speaker. We're going to rate it based off that, not the $400 collector price. As far as specs go, it has an 18-hour battery at typical to medium listening volumes. It can vary greatly, of course, depending on your listening volume. And that's thanks in part to the new 3000 milliamp battery, which is much more powerful than the Gen 1, which lasted only 4 hours. So according to them, B&O Olufsen, they said this is about a 350% increase in battery life. That is insane and needed to me, in my opinion, because the other one was too short. This goes straight from too short to class leading at that kind of battery life. Now, some other improvements they made over Gen 1 was the water resistance rating. It's IP67 certified, which means it can be submerged in up to 3 feet of water for up to 30 minutes. It's dust proof, and basically it's life proof to an extent. So if this is sitting on a table and someone spills a drink on it, you didn't just throw $250 out the window. Just wipe it off. Make them feel bad because they shouldn't have done that, but wipe it off and you're good to go. So other nice things that they did, they upgraded from Bluetooth 4.2 to 5.1. That enhanced codec support or Bluetooth support gives you much better microphone quality, which I'll do an audio demo. So if you're curious to see or hear what the mic sounds like, I will do that. But Bluetooth 5.1 gives you a much higher bandwidth, which gives you better sound quality. This supports AAC and aptX adaptive. And with the Bluetooth 5.1, you get a much longer range. So there's a big improvement on the wireless performance compared to Gen 1 and to a lot of other competitors that haven't upgraded to that new spec yet. The form factor is a little bit shorter than the older model. It actually weighs less as a result, but the nice thing is that they have a 3 microphone array instead of 1. So the mic quality is improved not only on the codec side, which allows a higher bit rate on the mic, but the triple array microphone is going to give you a much better vocal quality, which makes it useful if you're actually using it for conference calls, Teams meetings, etc. I am going to do the mic test, like I said, and it's pretty awesome what you can get from a Bluetooth speaker compared to what I heard even a couple years ago, which for the most part were all terrible. So this is a great improvement there. Now, as far as construction goes, this actually has a 3.5-inch driver and a 3/5 inch tweeter. The tweeter is actually offset, interestingly enough. It's not in the center. So if you look at, there's a little trick I noticed. So if I look at the microphone button right here on the side, the tweeter is offset to that side. So if it's just you listening to it and it's close enough, just have that mic closer to you or that mic button, and you'll get a little bit brighter, more dynamic listening experience. Speaking of buttons, they look like they're touch, which can be misleading, but this is actually the best it gets as far as buttons go. They are all push buttons. So it's a sealed button. There's no cracks or room for dust or anything like that, but you get a nice tactile click. It just sounds and feels great. You know you press the button, you know the command went through, and honestly, that is such a premium feel, and that's part, again, of why you're paying $250, because you're getting more attention to detail, better build quality, better buttons, etc. Speaking of build quality, the bottom is a rubberized base. It has some weight to it. It actually weighs about 1.25 pounds, like 1.2 pounds. Aluminum top plate, very inert. There's no ringing. There's no rattles. It's just a solid made product. USB-C port. It does include a USB-C cable. There's just no charger in the box, but I do like that it's there. So it's a robust packaging, if you will. The top mounted driver is interesting because it relies on your environment to sound a certain way. So I'm going to get into that in a moment, but I want to finish talking about specs. So this goes down to about 55 hertz, and that's because of the shorter enclosure, in my opinion. The Gen 1 actually went down closer to 40 hertz. It was taller, so I think they could just get a deeper frequency. If you're not comparing them side by side, people are still going to like this a lot. And at the end of the day, for real world use, I would much rather have the stuff that Gen 2 has, which is the better battery life, which is probably the most important thing, your better microphone, and the Bluetooth 5.1, which gives you all those advanced codec and sound quality support. So it's an upgraded speaker in every regard, with exception of the low bass. The Gen 1, I guess, technically sounds a little bit better, at least on paper and from what I've seen online, So it is what it is. But again, in real world, I think this is still going to be more than adequate and people are going to like that. Now, as far as the speaker design goes, there's pros and cons to something like this. It is a top-mounted speaker, which means it radiates up. It's not like it looks like this and it's shooting sideways, obviously, right? So the advantage to this is if you're in a room that has a roof, you're in a covered patio, whatever it may be, or an office, taking advantage of the environment to help with the sound is what this is really intended for. And that means everyone is rewarded with a good listening experience, or at least a similar listening experience. And in this case, it's a good one. When you get some other speakers out there that are your traditional front firing, the speaker basically sits like this. This side is rewarded, but everyone behind or to the side is not rewarded. You get a much lower quality sound. It's much quieter, if not inaudible in certain environments. So there's a pro and a con to all this stuff. Basically, if you're using this 100% outside, no roof, you're never going to use it inside or in an office or in a covered roof environment or in a tent, whatever it may be, you're going to lose a lot of the sound because there's no reflections of sound. It's shooting up into the sky. So if you're nearby, it's fine. And that means everyone around the speaker should still hear it, but it's not going to perform as good as it can if you have a speaker facing right at you outside. So your applications may determine what the right speaker is for you. Bang & Olufsen makes larger, more powerful Bluetooth speakers that fire forward if you need that. But this is just a very versatile configuration, and which is obvious because you see a lot of smart speakers like the Amazon Echo, Google's Home products, etc., that they use either down firing or up firing speaker technology because of that 360-degree sound. So this is designed for a wide dispersion of sound and not so much focused. And part of that also gets, I guess, another feature add that takes advantage of that is it has multi-point pairing, which means two phones can connect to it at once. So you and a friend or a significant other, whoever it may be, want to play your own music or share music, you can do that on one speaker. Another cool thing is it supports stereo mode. So if you use the Bang & Olufsen app, you can turn this into a left channel and a second Beosound into a right channel and get much higher sound output. So that's also nice for filling a larger space as well. Okay, now we're going to do the microphone test, and I'm going to switch now. So now I'm talking to you on the Beosound A1 second generation microphone system. Naturally, you should hear more reverb. I should sound more distant, and that's because I am more distant. Right now, I have a shotgun mic that's mounted right off camera, very close to my mouth. You get a much better sound quality that way. This is not benefiting from that. It's streaming wirelessly to my iPhone. So it's farther away, lower quality mics and wireless. So there's a lot going against it, but I think the sound quality is actually pretty good, especially compared to the older one. The triple microphone array not only has a better pickup pattern, but as far as the bit rate differences go, it's not compressing my sound as much, so it should sound more natural. So from a speakerphone standpoint, if you're using this for Teams or Zoom meetings on Bluetooth, this actually can do a good job for that. I find that it has an automatic gain to an extent. So if I am a little bit more distant, I found initially the microphone's not quite as lively or loud, and then it picks up and it equalizes pretty well. And I feel like it does a good enough job for, comms. I've heard much worse microphones on Zoom meetings and team meetings, as I'm sure you have as well with everyone working from home. So that's the microphone and the Beosound. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious if you think it's an improvement or how it stacks up to some others out there. I think it's on the upper end as far as Bluetooth speakers go, at least compared to anything I've ever heard. All right, now I want to talk about sound quality, which I loosely have alluded to earlier, but now it's time to get in the weeds. So the bass response to this is excellent. Now, part of that comes from the high power output. 30 watts times 2 on that Class D amp is no joke. That's going to give you a lot of power. And it shows on a speaker this small. It's kind of shocking to have that kind of, I guess, warmth and bravado to the bass. It's not like it's a weak you can tell a difference, I guess, between a low-powered speaker trying to put out a ton of bass versus a high-powered speaker putting out similar bass. They just sound so much cleaner and so much more in control. It's one thing to say you hit 40 hertz, 50 hertz, 60 hertz, but doing it with the woofer in this being dynamically accurate to the music is a whole nother animal. And that's usually what you pay for when you get a higher end speaker, is that control. You know, when the woofer's supposed to be moving out to handle a 50 hertz note, is the amplifier driving it well enough to handle that note accurately? Or is it starting to get sloppy and the voice coil's not getting enough juice? So it gets fairly technical. I'm not trying to go down that path, but that's part of what that extra power is beneficial for when it comes to sound quality. So in the real world, the bass response is excellent. It's not as deep or thunderous as you can get for $250. It's not, you're not paying for pure sound quality, but it's still there, and it's versatile bass, meaning if I listen to rock music, dance music, hip hop, I found that it works really well with pretty much all genres. If you are a heavy bass head and you like a lot of deep hitting hip hop, you're missing that 30 to 40 hertz bass, so it may not sound quite the same, but in most cases, it sounds excellent. Now, when you get into the mids and highs, this is more typical of the Bang & Olufsen sound profile. My Beoplay portals were the same way. They're tuned to be a little bit more flat to kind of give you a versatile sound profile. So it's beneficial because you can listen to all these genres and have it work really well. But what I like or what you like might be a different sound profile. And because this is a little bit flat, the highs aren't as sharp or dynamic or bright as I think what a lot of people prefer, just based off feedback and what people like when I've talked to them. I've worked for years in the past at several Magnolia stores at Best Buy, so I got to play with a lot of high-end audio and see what people enjoyed. And I find that the slight V shape is totally common as long as you're not losing the mid-range detail. So this has good detail. The highs are nice and flat, and they're very forgiving. Now, what's really cool about the Beosound is the app. I'm a huge app fan of this particular product because I use it for my portals, my gaming headset from them that I reviewed in the past. And the Beosound interacts the same way. So I'm going to click it now. I've already paired to it with Bluetooth in the past, obviously. I've been using this product for a long time. So I can adjust the volume. You can see that I have different listening modes. And with the listening modes, you have predefined ones. Then you have ones that you can create. Now the V-shape one I did, it's a slight V, and I'll talk about that after. Now I also have the Amazon Assistant paired to this, obviously. I didn't want to say the name, so I reshot this scene because I said it originally, and I'm not trying to trigger your smart speakers on your side. So I'll say the name, I'll mute myself for a second, but I just want to show you that it works pretty seamlessly. Alexa, what's 2 plus 2?
2 plus 2 is 4.
Mind blown. I can do math on my Bluetooth speaker. So it works pretty well. Now, it didn't always activate every time for me in the past. I'm not going to lie and say it's a flawless thing. That happens with that assistant anyway, even if you have dedicated devices. So I'm not going to lie and say it's perfect, but it does work really well. And I used it a lot while I was listening to music, and it always seemed to work well there. So I want to talk about the listening modes because this is kind of like my final segue before we wrap up the review. I really like the sound profile of the V-shape. And if you notice, it's dragged towards energetic. I think between dragging it towards energetic or even slightly up here, between bright and energetic, it just opens up the speaker enough to, I think, getting it closer to what I've heard most people enjoy, myself included for this particular speaker. I need just a little bit more treble, especially because I'm not sitting right above the speaker. If this speaker is pointed at you, or you're right next to it and you're within a good earshot range to benefit from that tweeter, it's going to sound fairly bright and open up close. The issue is when you're over here or you're relying on reverbs or echoes from your wall or reflections from your wall to get the sound, you lose some of that detail and brightness. So this is kind of a nice way of cheating that a little bit and opening up the speaker's sound profile. If you go too high on the energetic side, you're boosting the bass a bit. So if you listen to it at louder volumes, you just want to shift it slightly to the left so it's a little bit more on the bright side, and it cuts the bass back, giving you more control at high volumes, less distortion. So those are my tuning tips. Obviously mess with this. You can see how incredibly easy it is to use to dial in the sound to your liking. So just have a track playing in the background while you mess with it, and I think you're going to find a sound profile you really like. I found that I settled anywhere from bright energetic to a little bit towards energetic, again, depending on the listening volume. So at the end of the day, is it worth $250? That is a super tough question because I'm going to be straight. And this was sent to me for review. It doesn't affect my reviews. And if you've watched any of my stuff in the past, you'll know that. But you can get a similar sounding, if not slightly better sounding speaker for a little bit less. There are less expensive alternatives out there. Obviously, the market is flooded with Bluetooth speakers from every brand you can imagine and ones you've never heard of. So I'm going to be real there. Part of what you're paying for here comes down to the build quality, the capability of the app, which to me makes a big difference, especially on a top firing 360-degree speaker. You really need to tune the sound profile. Otherwise, you're always going to be missing that detail. I'm a big sound nut, so to me, getting the most out of my equipment is important to me because when you listen to music, you want to enjoy it. This is built like a tank. So if you buy a $100 speaker or a $150 speaker that has comparable sound, but saves you $100, it may not last as long as this, whether it's the battery life or physically not last long enough. You know, a driver blows, the battery's shot, etc. Then you end up buying another one. And over time, that path may end up costing you more money than going with a more premium product. Now, I'm not saying this is the premium product. It's a great product and I enjoy it, but I'm trying to paint the picture of why higher end audio in this case costs more. It's not just pure sound quality alone or what you get on the spec sheet. So just even when I use the charge port on this and I plugged in the USB-C cable, which is included, it doesn't come with an AC adapter, but the cable connection feels super solid. This feels hefty. There's no rattles or weird things going on. It's just a really well-made, refined speaker with good sound, and it's what you'd expect from a premium product. So this is one of those things where it may not be for everyone, but if someone's in that market and has that price range, I would recommend this because I know it's going to work. Bang & Olufsen has been doing wireless longer than almost every brand in the world, and a lot of people don't know that, but they were doing wireless speakers in the 90s, well before it became the cool thing to do. So they know how to set up the antenna arrays inside. They know how to isolate radio frequencies from the amplifier and speakers so you don't get that hiss or you don't get that buzzing sound. Those are all those little things that you can't see on paper that is showcased on a premium product like this from Bang & Olufsen. So if all those things are important to you and you're in the market and have that kind of budget, that's what you're getting. And I think it's a great product because of that. So I hope you guys found this review helpful. This went really long for a Bluetooth speaker review, so I'm sorry about that, but it's important on something like this to kind of know what you're paying for. And the app, of course, makes things even more fun. So if you have any questions, shoot me a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think about the review if you want to see more stuff like this. And then don't forget to subscribe because we are covering a lot of high-end audio, gaming headsets, you name it. I will put a link in the description below. So if this exists on Amazon or any kind of site that can help support the channel, I buy a lot of products I review, and those links help provide funding to secure and pay for said products. A lot of stuff I purchase and not everything is sent. So anyway, thank you all so much for the support and kind words. Channel's been growing great. And with that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye.